Okay, so I think we're ready to resume. We're just going to wait for our clerk and our CAO.
Sorry, I was here. I forgot to turn on.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the question, what are the resolutions that need to be adopted this evening?
If I'm looking at the in the eyes, I mean, I'm talking to you from an administrative perspective. So obviously going down to the resolution, sorry here, one moment, please. Correspondence and accounts. I mean, okay. So what needs to go ahead of time, I would say we need an award of surface treatment, I-1, I-2. I would make a guess that an award for supply of winter sand is probably can wait, but given the fact that it's quick, we can do that. Appointment to the library board is debatable. That's up to you. Public works equipment is not time sensitive. The 50,000 for West Nipissing General Hospital is because it's tied to the budget. The council members' legal fees, that's kind of debatable. That's up to you folks to decide. The engineering fee proposal for Nature's Trail Bridge is critical. Tax ratios are critical, set tax rates, provide assistance for elderly, and all of that needs to happen. We could postpone by, Elisa, if you're on, do we need to pass a solid waste management budget tonight? We're starting to get we're going to get a problem with our due dates, are we not?
We are. Yeah.
So I'm going to leave, but we cannot put that ahead of the discussion. So that has to come after anyway. And the solid waste management rates as well has to come after the discussion in committee. Everything else, you handle I-15. I-16, I suppose you would say that's urgent, and then that would be it. And then the addendum emanating from closed session needs to happen as well. The resolution emanating from closed session.
And there was the resolution for the acquisition of a community services vehicle as well. That was added as an addendum.
Yes. That's
so
right.
There would be two. Okay. So I'm just going to ask direction right now if everyone is in agreement with the ones that have been identified as a priority for this evening. So we can proceed with that. I would need 2/3 majority. Do you agree that we just skip over and go with the operational recommendation?
Question.
Yes.
So we got to go back after that to follow when we deal with that. After that, we got to follow the regular agenda.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So based on what I saw as far as show of hands with the recommendation of the new business, the awards based on operational needs. So we'll proceed with I-1, volunteer as a mover and a seconder. Conseiller Yvonne, Conseiller Chris.
It's moved by Councillor Duhaime and seconded by Councillor Fisher. Whereas requests for quotations for single surface treatment projects in the West Nipissing municipality were opened publicly on May the 6th, 2021 by the Manager of Public Works and the Director of Corporate Services. And whereas 2 quotations were received, and whereas the quotations have been reviewed and the award being recommended herein consists of the best price meeting all specifications, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendation received, be it therefore resolved that the quotation for single surface treatment projects in the municipality of West Nipissing be awarded to Miller Paving, having submitted the lowest quotation of $89,300.25, meeting all specifications.
Are there any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Adoptee. A mover and a seconder for I-2, award of brushing and ditching. Conseiller Broly, Conseiller Chris.
It is moved by Councillor Larrabee and seconded by Councillor Fisher. Whereas requests for quotes for brushing and ditching services in the West Nipissing municipality were opened publicly on May 6, 2021 by the Manager of Public Works and the Director of Corporate Services, and whereas 6 quotations were received, and whereas the quotations have been reviewed and the award being recommended herein consists of the best price meeting all specifications, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendation received, be it resolved that the quotation for brushing and ditching services on Pine Poultry Road in the West Nipissing municipality be awarded to Deep Construction, having submitted the lowest quotation of $88,120, meeting all specifications.
Any questions or comments? Very quick question. Our budget, what was the amount that was identified in our budget for this project? Was it 129,000? So is there anyone?
Lisa?
Because if it was, I was just questioning that the amount of the tender that we got is, it seemed much lower than what we had budgeted or estimated that the capital project would be for.
You're on mute.
Pine Poultry was budgeted at 239, but that also includes the culverts and everything else that are additional costs to the brushing and ditching. So we supply the culverts and the granular to set those culverts. The brushing and ditching is just a portion of that 239.
Okay, thank you. Any objections pertaining to the resolution? Aucune objection? None? Carried. Adopté. To award the supply of winter sand, mover and a seconder. Conseiller Léo, Conseiller Yvon.
It is moved by Councillor Mallette and seconded by Councillor Duhaime. Whereas requests for quotes to supply winter sand to the West Nipissing municipality were opened publicly on May the 13th, 2021 by the Manager of Public Works and the clerk. And whereas 3 quotations were received, and whereas the quotations have been reviewed and the award being recommended herein consists of the best price meeting all specifications, and whereas council concurs with the recommendation received, be it therefore resolved that the quotation for the supply of winter sand to the West Nipissing municipality be awarded to A. Miron Topsoil Limited, having submitted the lowest quotation of $9.54 per ton for the Verner Yard and $11.44 per ton for the Sturgeon Falls Yard, meeting all specifications.
Any questions, comments? Any objections? Aucune objection? None? Carried. Adopté. We'll move on to authorize the donation of the 50,000 to the West Nipissing General Hospital, which is I-6. Is there a mover and a seconder? Conseiller Léo, Conseiller Yvon.
It's moved by Councillor Mallette and seconded by Councillor Duhaime. Whereas at the November 3rd, 2020 meeting, the CEO and President of the West Nipissing General Hospital made a presentation to council seeking financial support for the operation of the CT scanner. And whereas council discussed the request at meetings held on April the 20th, 2021, at which time it was recommended and agreed that the municipality provide a one-time $50,000 financial contribution to the West Nipissing General Hospital for the operation of the CT scanner. Be it therefore resolved that council authorizes the municipality to make a one-time financial contribution of $50,000 to the West Nipissing General Hospital for the operation of the CT scanner, and be it further resolved that council directs staff to write to the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care regarding funding for the operation of the CT scanner.
Any questions or comments? I just had a slight modification to the resolution. When the presentation was made to council, it was to seek a special levy for the operation of the CT scanner. The request was to have a levy, the same model of the levy that was adopted for the regional hospital in North Bay. So I'd like for the resolution, when we make reference to the presentation, when we got the presentation from the hospital, is that they were seeking a special levy for the operation of the CT scanner. And unfortunately, a levy cannot be adopted for operational needs. And therefore, we proceeded with allowing a one-time payment of $50,000. Conseiller Dan.
I just don't understand your point. The point being is that they asked for the levy, we couldn't do it, so now we're providing them with the money, 50,000.
And that's exactly what I'm proposing for the resolution. I proposed an amendment that where the first section where it says, whereas the CEO and the president of the West Nipissing General Hospital made a presentation to council seeking a levy, a municipal levy or the proper term, it was a levy for the operation of the CT scanner. And whereas council discussed the request, at which time it was recommended and agreed that the municipality provide a one-time 50,000 financial contribution. So I just wanted the resolution to define what was the request that we received from the CEO of the hospital. It was a levy, a special levy. Is that how it's referred to, Alyssa?
That is what the request was.
Okay, so I'm making.
But I have an issue with that, because the point is, your amendment is saying something we couldn't do. So why are we even saying it?
I'm proposing an amendment to the
Okay.
resolution, and we have to
Let's
vote
on it.
the amendment, so it reflects that the request was a special levy. So who would support the amendment?
I need a seconder to the amendment, so
Conseiller Lise? Conseiller Yvon? So it's only to change the request of financial support seeking a special levy. So those in favor of the amendment? Defeated? Coming back to the resolution, those in favor of the resolution? Carried? Well, okay. Coming back to the resolution, I saw two hands, but can I see a show of hands, please, so I can say it's been adopted? Carried. Okay, we move on to authorize the engineering fee proposal for Nature Trail Bridge. So I saw that we had Sean. Well, let's read the resolution. I need a mover and a seconder before we get into the discussion. Conseiller Denis. A seconder. Conseiller Yvon.
it's moved by Councillor Denise Senecal and seconded by Councillor Duhaime. Whereas Council for the West Nipissing Municipality has authorized the replacement of the Nature's Trail Bridge during its 2021 budget deliberations. And whereas an engineering fee proposal for the design, necessary approvals, and construction administration of the replacement of the Nature's Trail Bridge project has been received from EXP. And whereas the proposal has been reviewed by the Manager of Public Works, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendation received, be it therefore resolved that the engineering fee proposal for the replacement of Nature's Trail Bridge, which scope of work includes detailed design, securing environmental clearances, and construction administration services, be awarded to EXP, having submitted a proposal of $73,880.
Okay, discussions. I'll just do a quick roundtable. If there's any questions or comments, Conseiller Yvon?
No, I'm okay with this. Thank you, Madam Meres.
Okay. Councillor Chris?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Conseiller Leo?
Sorry, I'm okay. You skipped Councilor Rowley.
Okay, but I'll get to Conseiller Rowley. Thank you, Conseiller Leo, for the reminder. Conseiller Rowley?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm okay.
Conseiller Dan?
Yes.
Conseiller Lise?
Moi, j'ai une question, c'est ce que ce 112 000 $là, does it include the $70,000? Does it include just like plans? So there's not no construction, just like to make sure that when they start the construction, it's going to be well done. Is that what it is?
Yes, it also includes contract administration.
Oh,
So yeah. So it's the yeah.
so were we expecting that it would be more costly than that, or I don't recall how much we had said.
No, that's pretty standard. I wasn't shocked, nor was I pleased. Obviously, if it was less, then we, it would be nice. But that I think it's reasonable. Otherwise, I wouldn't have recommended it to council.
No, but I was expecting more. That's why I thought it would.
Keep in mind that some of the work previously done came back onto the table, so that we've paid EXP previously for some work. Some of the work was still valid, but because we now moved the abutments back to the original, so there's some changes, but again, that the costs reflect that.
Okay, thank you.
Conseiller Denis?
Oh, perfect. Let's move on.
Okay, so throughout this process, I was just looking at page 3, Sean, which provided the project schedule. And so we anticipate that the project is going to be completed by November 26, 2021 this year.
That is the schedule provided by the engineering firm, and he, I questioned him because I like to be sure. You're never sure in construction. There's always unforeseen circumstances, but he felt confident that his timelines were achievable.
Okay, and what's being proposed is replacing the bridge where the bridge is presently located.
That was communicated clearly to the consultant, for sure.
Okay. Will the consultant update the stakeholders, like the tourist lodge operators and the individuals that do have households or residences across the bridge? Like, are they going to be informed at one time so they know what's being scheduled and that they can plan accordingly for those that still need to cross the bridge where the bridge may not be accessible at that time during construction?
Yeah, there will be, and if not by the consultant, then I will definitely not pull a bridge and landlock a bunch of cottage owners or so we'll definitely, I'll stay on that, and we're going to have, notice of construction well ahead of time, as we do with some other projects of that size.
Okay.
So, but I'm not, to answer your question, Madam Mayor, I'm not 100% sure that falls on the lap of the consultant, but definitely something that I will have to be mindful of and communicate with the affected property owners as best I can.
Okay, thank you. So coming back to the resolution, if there's no further question, any objection? Aucune objection? None? Carried? Adopté? Okay, we move on to I-9 to set the tax ratio. Then I need a mover and a seconder. Conseiller Léo? Conseiller Chris?
It was moved by Councillor Mallette and seconded by Councillor Fisher. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2021-41 to set the tax ratios for the West Nipissing municipality for the year 2021 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Any questions or comments? Any objection? Aucune objection? None? Adopté, carried. We move on to the bylaw to set tax rates and penalty dates. Mover and a seconder. Conseiller Dan, Conseiller Chris.
It is moved by Councillor Revita and seconded by Councillor Fisher. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2021-42 being a bylaw to adopt the 2021 tax rates and to further provide for penalty and interest in default of payment thereof shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Any questions or comments? Aucune objection? Any objection? None? Carried. Adopté. We move on to I-11. Provide tax assistance for elderly and disabled property owners. Conseiller Yvon, Conseiller Léo.
It is moved by Councillor Duhaime and seconded by Councillor Mallette. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2021-43 being a bylaw to provide tax assistance to certain elderly and disabled residents who are owners of real property shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Any questions or comments? Any objections? None? Carried. Adopté. Then we're going to go to the resolution to authorize Francoiste drive-through graduation ceremony. So based on the request that we got, nous avons reçu une lettre de l'école secondaire catholique Francoiste et avec la date qui est identifiée le 28 et le 29 juin entre les heures de 9h et 17 fait une demande pour modification du sens de la circulation de la rue Main à partir de l'intersection de Market jusqu'à l'intersection de la rue Ethel. L'école secondaire catholique Franco-Cité organise la remise des diplômes pour finissants. Nous voulons offrir une remise des diplômes mémorables à nos cohortes d'élèves de 12e année et ceci se fait comme de raison d'une façon différente virtuelle. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a des questions? Are there any questions? Or first of all, maybe before asking if there's any questions, Sean, would this be doable for the 2 dates that have been identified based on Public Works and having the traffic circulation going north coming from Market to Ethel on Main Street to be able to accommodate the graduation pour l'école secondaire Franco-Cité?
I would even go a step further and close the road to local traffic only and emergency vehicles, just to ensure that, because creating a one-way can be confusing. We have Market around to King Street, around to Ethel Street. It's not that big a detour for locals. It would be a lot safer for the students and for the graduation if we would close it to local traffic only.
Okay, so the recommendation from our Public Works manager is to keep that portion of the road closed and open only to local traffic and emergency. Would there be any objections to this recommendation? Aucune objection? None? Conseillère Lise?
Ben, je veux juste savoir, j'essaie de voir dans ma tête, là, c'est quoi qu'ils vont faire exactement, là? Ils vont se promener en auto, puis ils vont faire le tour de partir de Franco en arrière, ils vont passer par Market, non?
Non, sur la rue Main.
La rue
Sur
Main.
la rue Main, oui, c'est ça. Ils veulent circuler à partir de la Market, sur la rue Main, sortir sur la rue Ethel, qui est correct, mais on devrait empêcher le trafic qui n'a pas besoin de circuler sur la rue Main à ce temps-là, de faire le tour.
Okay.
Donc, close to local traffic and emergency use only. Puis, évidemment, les gradués.
Mm-hmm.
OK. Il y a d'autres façons de s'y rendre. C'est vraiment c'est un petit détour. Là. C'est pas la...
C'est ça.
OK.
Okay, donc, I believe that Milani is drafting a resolution.
I'm just changing the wording. So I have changed the wording, which event requires council's authorization to restrict traffic on Main Street between Market and Ethel Street, saving and accepting local traffic. And then the last portion, be it resolved that permission be granted to École Secondaire Catholique Franco-Cité to drive through graduation ceremony on June 29th, which will restrict vehicular traffic on Main Street between Market and Ethel Street, except for local traffic.
Okay, is there a mover and a seconder? Conseiller Denis, Conseiller Yvon, any objections? Aucune objection? None? Carried, adopté. We proceed to addendum. We have one resolution for the acquisition of a vehicle for the recreational department. Is there a mover and a seconder? Conseiller Dan, Conseiller Lise.
It is moved by Council Levita and seconded by Council Lee Senecal. Whereas quotations for the purchase of a new 3/4 ton pickup truck were requested by the Community Services Department, and whereas 2 quotations were received with only 1 quotation meeting all specifications, and whereas the quotations have been reviewed and the award being recommended herein consists of the best prices meeting all specifications, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendation received, be it therefore resolved that the quotation for the purchase of a new 3/4 ton pickup truck for the Community Services Department be awarded to Tremblay Chevrolet Buick GMC Inc., having submitted a quotation of $59,749, meeting all specifications.
Are there any questions? Aucune question? None? Any objections? Aucune objection? None? Carried, adopté. And we have the addendum, the other resolution pertaining to the local planning appeal tribunal.
You need a mover and a second.
Oh, is there a volunteer? Conseil Yvonne, Conseil Chris?
It is moved by Councillor Duhaime and seconded by Councillor Fisher. Be it resolved that Council for the West Nipissing Municipality wishes to defend the local planning appeals tribunal made by Ed Segay and Sons Trucking and Paving regarding the decision of council to review bylaw amendment number 2021-17.
I
The
would like to
recorded
record, Madam Mayor.
A recorded vote, Conseil Dan?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll let our clerk proceed with calling out the names.
Can you repeat please, can you repeat the resolution?
Yes.
Thank you, Val.
Be it resolved that Council for the West Nipissing Municipality wishes to defend the local planning appeals tribunal appeal made by Ed Segay and Sons Trucking and Paving regarding the decision of council to refuse bylaw amendment number 2021-17. Councillor Duhaime,
No.
Councillor Fisher,
Yes.
Councillor Larrabee,
Yes.
Councillor Mallette,
Yes.
Councillor Revita,
Yes.
Councillor Denis Senecal,
No.
Councillor Lee Senecal,
No.
Mayor Savage,
No.
defeated.
Okay, so now we go back to where we left off on the agenda. And we're still under general government, gouvernement général. And I'll pass it to the chair, Conseil Alice.
Merci, Madame la mairesse. OK, il faut que je me retrouve. On est rendu discussion summer council meeting, July and August. And I think that the proposed date is Tuesday, July 13, 6:30, and Tuesday, August 17, also at 6:30. Any discussion? Yvonne, question?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Chris?
I'm fine with that.
Rolly?
I'm fine with that, yes.
Excuse-moi, Conseiller Rolly?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Conseiller Léo?
Okay.
Conseiller Dan?
Yes.
Conseiller Dan, correct?
Oui.
OK. Madame la mairesse?
J'ai aucune objection.
Conseiller Denis?
C'est bon?
OK. Moi-même, la seule chose, si on vient qu'en avoir besoin, évidemment, qu'il y a des choses, il faut qu'ils soient passées. Il y a une réunion, on peut demander une autre réunion. Jay, are you there?
So do we have a resolution that we need to adopt to show that those are going to be the 2 minutes, or does it suffice having it recorded in the minutes?
We can adopt the
Can
Sorry,
I-
I
can I-
don't understand the question. Could you repeat it? Could you,
Oui, je voulais juste savoir si, mettons, qu'on n'a pas assez de temps, qu'il y a une possibilité, même si on était d'avoir une réunion spéciale, s'il y a des choses pressantes.
on a fait affaire avec les affaires présentes. C'est à vous de
Non,
décider si
non.
vous avez besoin d'une réunion spéciale.
Non, Jay, je parlais des réunions à l'été, juillet, parce qu'on n'a qu'une
yeah.
réunion.
Oui, espérons que il n'y a pas de besoin. Mais,
Ouais, non, je faisais référence à juillet et août. OK.
And to answer the question, the resolution will come at the next meeting.
The next meeting? Okay. So then we go to MMHA, which is AMO, I think, if I got it here. It's a conference, and it's to be held August 15th to the 18th. And we have the information in our package, and I read it, but I don't recall the date, the deadline to register. So anybody who wants to register, like they have to just read the material and go and register before the deadline. And is there any needs for a delegation? No, so I guess you got the information.
Well, I do have one question though, pertaining to the delegation, but I don't have the answer, if I may, Madam Chair.
Sure.
The funding, the notification of the funding that we got, which we had defined which project we would use the money for, which was the dehumidifier and HVAC system at the complex. We haven't been provided a decision yet. So this would come from the province, and this could be an opportunity that we can communicate with the minister and seek approval of the funding, approval of the project, so we can move forward with the funding that they said they would be providing to us.
Okay, who can answer that? Jay?
I didn't hear a question, but I
Okay, well,
heard a suggestion for a delegation.
a delegation to petition the government to for the grant, that the money that was that we applied for the
Right.
So would it be appropriate to have
Well, if you're asking me, I don't think that a minister has influence once there's a set of selection criteria that are in there.
okay, well,
But I mean, it's a political, if you want to advocate and you feel that that's a council decision, I don't have an opinion. If council wishes to have a delegation with the minister to advocate for that project, then it's a council decision.
so
Well, what I was saying is advocate for the approval of the funding that we were told we would get, and that we needed to submit a project that qualified. And throughout budget, we removed the project because we were waiting for this, the final approval, and it's been more than 6 months. This dates back, I think, to the end of 2020.
So if council wants to delegate to advocate, expediting the decisions and advocating to get, that's fine. I don't have an opinion on that.
Okay, well, my recommendation would be, could we check to see if we got any correspondence, and if we haven't, to find out which ministry, and maybe that would help to find out if council wishes to pursue a delegation, yes or no.
If your question was, did we get the funding yet? The answer, I believe, is no. If you're saying there's no correspondence that we got saying we were approved, or we would have notified council. Am I missing something, or?
Well, peut-être que je l'explique pas bien. On avait reçu de la correspondance
Oui.
en disant qu'on était accordé un montant d'argent. Mais cet argent-là avait des critères de quelle façon qu'on pouvait la dépenser.
C'est ça.
On a eu une recommandation qui nous a été amenée en disant, c'est le HVAC. Ça qualifie.
C'est ça.
Okay, so we were told we'd get the funding, but they need to approve our project. And we were told that this needed to be expended and completed by the end of this year. But throughout budget, when I asked the question, did we get the decision for the project, not the funding, for the project?
That's right.
It was no. So I think since we're already halfway through the year, we need to escalate this and say, you know what? We did everything that we were told to do, and it fit. And we'd like to be able to get a decision so we can proceed with this project.
Right. So if you want to have a delegation to speak to that effect, that's a council decision. I don't know what the issue is. Just add that, Melanie, if that's the wish of council, Melanie will have make a delegation request with that subject matter. But if your answer is it necessary because have we received any information? My response was, well, I guess it would be necessary because we have not received any response yet.
Thank you.
so what is the directive? Are we giving a directive to Mel to register us for a delegation? Is that the process to follow, Mel?
So Melanie, what we have is delegation requests, and the different ministries provide, or the different conferences say, you have a deadline to submit delegation requests. And so that we always go to council. Council makes a decision. Melanie records that and fills the appropriate form with the delegation request. And then we await to see if we were approved or not. So my understanding here is that the mayor, without any discord or people against, is suggesting that she would like to have a delegation with a minister responsible for that grant and to discuss what she just discussed. And so Melanie's recorded that, and Melanie will then submit a delegation request and update council accordingly. Usually it's last minute when we receive these notices, and we'd say, hey, we got the delegation, then we prepare something for you. That's the process. I don't know if there's any more or if I'm okay.
But isn't, excuse me, Madam Chair, who's Madam Chair there? Madam Chair is Lise. Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. But wouldn't the normal process be that we just phone and find out? And then if there's a hiccup, then we can do a delegation. But a delegation, as far as I'm concerned, when something like that, no minister is going to ask that because it's too, we'll not have any answers for that. It's too much in the weeds. That's just my comment.
But I'd like to clarify that comment, because throughout budget, I did ask the question if we did follow up and if we did inquire. And yes, there was inquiry that was done by administration. That's what we were told. So staff has inquired. That's the information that was shared with us throughout budget.
So the way I see it, it doesn't hurt to if somebody was going to the conference, and it doesn't hurt to go and lobby for that. I don't think any wrong on that. Like, I mean, that's why they are attending that conference, to have people to go and talk about some of the problem they have. So I don't have an issue one way or the other. Like, I mean, if we have a chance to ask, they might not answer, but they might answer. So it does work.
You know what? I'll get the information from our Director of Corporate Services. I'll inquire with the ministry. If I can't get an answer by the end of this week, then I'll submit the information to our clerk to proceed with the delegation request.
Good.
Councillor Fisher?
The deadline is Friday, so the mayor would need to submit it by Friday.
That's correct. Thank you.
So that was the deadline to apply, Friday. Thank you, Chris. Okay, so that's it all. So we're going to number 3, D3C, request for exemption from no-cut policy on Nipissing Street. Who's going to be talking about that, Sean? Or there's a request by somebody that bought land, I guess, and he wants to build, but then he noticed that he was not advised apparently that we have that policy, and so he's asking that if I think there's 2 options that Sean had provided. Not too sure, Sean, if it's you. So that's as far, I don't want to read all but that's basically new house to be built, bought a lot, need to have the water connection and sewer, I guess, and we have a no-cut policy, and it was provided 2 options by Sean. Is that you, Sean, that you did that?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So can you?
Sure. So what happened on this one is this is a corner lot at 4th and Nipissing. The contractor started to build, had the footings in, then they submitted their request for servicing. When staff got on site, they noticed that the footings were already in. Then they proceeded to look for services off of 4th Street. There is a water main off of 4th Street, but the sanitary main dead ends at the McKee Crescent. Therefore, no sanitary service is available off of 4th Street, forcing the contractor to service off of Nipissing Street, which is currently under our 5-year no-cut policy until 2022. It was paved in 2017.
Okay, so can you talk about the option?
So the option would be to connect off the water main off of 4th Street, but then you're running I believe it was 60-meter long service. Not it's just not typical standards to have that long a service. I mean, I've never seen it done. I wouldn't recommend running a 60-meter. I mean, times that's 190 feet long service. I mean, but it's an option, right? If council chooses not to give the exemption to the no cut, then that's the only option. Because the house, I mean, they're lifting the walls as of today. You know, and then I mean, it's unfortunate, but here we are.
Okay, but what is I'm curious because if you're building, and I mean, those are not the things that you should be provide or you should ask. I don't know. I mean,
Typically a property owner or a contractor will make those inquiries prior to starting to build, starting to develop. In this case, I'm not sure what happened. I guess there was an assumption because of the location that, you know, and the property did change hands. So in 2017, when the road was resurfaced, the existing property owner would have been notified of the 5-year no cut. When the property changes hands within that 5 years, the information doesn't necessarily get passed on to the new buyer. If that explains.
Yeah, we got to go around, I guess. I think to make sure that everybody, if they have questions, so we'll start with Yvon, conseiller Yvon.
So in essence, I guess we can say that when the person, whoever may be, approached the municipality for a building permit, they should have been told at the time of the no cut zone, I assume. And then that, you know, that happens. We do forget at times, but maybe that's what's happened. We're opening a can of worms here, but the person's in a dilemma here. I don't know. I'll go with the council's decision, but we're opening a can of worms. But a mistake was made, I guess, with the administrative personnel involved in giving planning, and that happens. I mean, there's no, you know. But anyway, let's think about it and let's work on this. Thank you.
But I want to clarify something. I'm sorry, conseiller Yvon, but I think, Sean, you had mentioned that is it the responsibility of the municipality to say it, or is the responsibility of the buyer or the contractor? That's a big difference here.
Well, I mean, when a property is sold, we don't automatically tell people what is there and what's not. You know, it's up to the property owner to find out what services are available, and if they're not available, how to get the property serviced. It's not common practice for the municipality to tell individuals how to service their property or what services they will require. So that's usually done when people request information on servicing, right? So we have a form that the property owner would request information on servicing. Our staff goes out, they locate the water main, they locate the sanitary, they locate the storm, then they provide that information, and there's a small fee, I think it's $60, and then we provide the information to the property owner.
So really,
but that was done only after he started building, in this case.
Okay.
Oh, so I'm sorry, Madam, can I ask then that the construction started before he applied for a building permit?
No, for the servicing agreement, for the water and sewer servicing agreement. And we are working with the building department to try and have more correlation, per se, with the, you know, for servicing, for entrances, and as well for and building permits. You know, we're working on that front to kind of be more forthcoming with the information. But no, the municipality in the past did not, we're not in the business of telling developers or contractors on how to service their properties.
Wow.
Okay, so, and yours, okay, so conseiller Christopher.
So yeah, I have a few questions. So are the services on the other side of the road or on the like has he got a cut right across the road? How severe a cut are we talking about? Would be my first question. I'll just list off a few questions. What kind of shape is the road, and in your estimation, what kind of impact? I mean, I really don't want to do this. I've the same sentiment as Yvonne. A no-cut rule is a no-cut rule. But in your estimation, what kind of impact? What shape is the road in, and when is that road scheduled to be redone in the infrastructure plan?
So to answer your first question, I guess, the water main is on the same side, so about edge of pavement. The sanitary main is center of road. So by the time, you're down 6 feet, you got a slope, you're going to be probably a full road crossing with your asphalt road cut. It is on its last year of no cut policy. So that's, maybe a bit of a save, but it's not a 4-year no cut. We have a 5-year no cut. Again, I mean, I don't like cutting roads, but I don't, it's a council decision. The policy says that, council will grant the exemption. I don't want to give my too much opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, conseiller
sorry.
Rowley. I'm sorry, you had 2 questions.
Sorry. So, and Sean, when is that scheduled to be sort of repaved or whatever? Like, I realize there's a no cut, but then it's not scheduled to be repaved for another 10 years or 5 years or 3 years.
I would say 10, Councillor Fisher.
Thank you.
So there's still 10 years on the that we need to wait for no cutting. The policy would apply.
No, 1 year. 1 year
Okay,
in 2022. It was paved in 2017, so the expiry of the 5-year no cut would be 2022. But Councillor Fisher was asking when this road would be scheduled for resurfacing. But if it was done in 2017, it was we top coated, I believe. I'd have to look at my information, but so you're looking at 15-year lifespan, hopefully 20, but 15.
Yes, Councillor Fisher, you want to add something?
Yes, sorry. So the no cut policy is basically because it kind of ruins a road, right? And you always get the dip in it. Is there a way you can cut a road and I don't know, maybe you have to bring in gravel, you have to do extra things so you can put that road back and feel assured that it's not going to sink and the damage is not permanent. Is there a way to do that?
So what I can, from past experience, what happens is you have dissimilar materials, right? So when you backfill without, and you can't use native because you need adequate aggregates for a good sub base. So what you get is differential frost heave. So in the winter months, you have 2 materials that are different and that are going to heave differently because they hold moisture differently, right? So that's what creates that dip. Now there is language in the policy that we can hold the cost of that cut. So it'll essentially cost them twice the amount that it would. So for example, if we have a 7 meter by 5 meter cut, you have the 35 square meters at $100 a square meter, you're looking at $3,500. So that's the cost to restore it. We, as the municipality, under your policy, your current policy, you would hold an extra $3,500 to ensure that should something happen, you have the money there to repair that cut. You hold that money for 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Melanie can.
Cannot hear you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Yes.
if that explains.
So yes, Melanie, that it's 3 years, you owe the like $3,500 for 3 years. And if there's damage, it can be repaired. That's what you're saying?
That's correct. It's like a surety bond for the integrity of the work that's done.
Okay.
And when I say 35, that's an arbitrary number. We actually go out and measure the size of the asphalt cut and retain that amount, the respective amount.
Okay. Conseiller Fisher, you got something else?
Yeah, so sorry for, so I guess that for me would be the answer. That would be the way I would make an exception. If we went that route, I could agree to it, but I wouldn't want to just make a no-cut exemption. Thank you.
Okay. Now we're Conseiller Rowley. I'll be back to you after the turn, Conseiller Bon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we're in between a rock and a hard place here. Actually, we've got about 6 months left because we're in June now. So if it's in 2022, that means we still got six months left of no cutting policy. So it would be really sad not to give permission for on a 6-month period. And if there is if there is that option to hold double the amount, that would appease my way of thinking on this. I know we cannot go with cutting it, but on this case, it's very hard to say no. I'd say yes with the option of keeping extra money for the repairs. Thank you.
Okay, so Conseiller Leo.
Yes, I'm the same thing. Yes, we'll do the 3,500, whatever it is, and yeah, and approve it. I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Conseiller Dan.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Madame la Mairesse.
I totally agree with what was said. 6 months remaining. They pay for the rehabilitation and we get a security bond as well in the event that there's additional work that would be required, if I understood correctly. So based on that, I would be willing to provide the exemption.
Okay. Conseiller Denis.
Well, I'm in a different view here. Is it going to be user fee for cutting the pavement now? I mean, if you can afford to cut it and pay for it, you're allowed to do it. So the no cut policy wouldn't apply because you got the money to do it. And if you don't have the money to do it, the no cut wouldn't apply. So you're stuck. So that's an unfair system we're opening up. I don't think that people with money have better options than people without money. And if it's a 6-month window, I don't think we should take it case by case. And I think this guy, he needs to have the services. And the extra fee to me is not sending the right message. Because if I can afford it, I'll say, okay, I'll pay for it, cut it up. So there goes our no cut policy down the drain. So it's not the solution. So either we make an exemption or which I would agree to because there's only 6 months left. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Conseiller Yvon.
Well, it was just a suggestion. I've done it in the past, and where I've connected to an existing line from the neighbor. Sean, I know they don't like doing it, but I did it before with the approval from the municipality at that time. Is that possible? So we didn't infringe on the roadside. It just was along the roadside, and we didn't touch the pavement at that time at all. Is that possible, Sean?
It's absolutely, and it was talked about, Councillor Yvon. The issue there is we're in contravention of another policy to circumvent the exemption. So I don't, two wrongs don't make it right. So I think he's seeking an exemption. You council either grants the exemption or or not, but
Okay. Councillor Fisher, you have your hand ups and before Yvonne, Councillor Yvonne, you have another question?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, anybody else have, yes, Madame Ramirez?
The policy, what was described by Sean, that is standard within the policy for everyone, but
yes,
you determine how much because you have to go out and measure.
well, it's actual, right? Those are actual figures.
That's right.
This is because if your pipe is 6 meters deep, you have to excavate at a 1-to-1 ratio. Then you know the top basically doubles, so I know exactly how much asphalt they're taking. Right, so that's how we determine the security, and it's all based on whatever the cost is to restore that cut. That's the retainer that we hold to make sure that we have the money in security, so that the taxpayers aren't left having to pay for that cut. Should it deteriorate prematurely. I hope that explains it.
Okay. Councillor Dan, do you have something? Okay.
I was talking about,
Okay, I guess my question is that, did we ever provide permission to do, and if yes, to do a cut? And I remember one, I'm asking a question, but I want more than, and we did, what was the reason? I think when we provided was for something for eating, eh? I don't remember, but in the past year or year and a half.
The only one in my tenure, Madam Chair, is the only one that I can recall is on Olivier Road,
Okay.
where a homeowner wanted to bring a gas line in. And the fact that we were resurfacing, doing the second surface treatment this year, and I consulted with the supplier, and they said that if the cut is well compacted and the single surface treatment this year will mend the cut together, so it shouldn't be an issue, is what the supplier told me, and that's when council granted the exemption.
Okay, and that policy, was it made that to charge, to take a retainer in case there's damage that happened? Was it in place since day one?
Yes, that's your current
At the same
policy.
time with the policy was made. I do have some concern also, but if you're building a new house and it costs, because first of all, it's the responsibility of the owner. You should have been asked, inquire before you starting building and see if where's the connection. So that's, I don't want to stop it. The house is there. We are in a, what, I don't know which councillor said that, in a hard place, I guess, because I mean, the new building is there, and so I don't see it as quite as, how can I say that, somebody that doesn't have money won't be able to do it, because if you're building and you're making that mistake of not asking the right question, and then you're fine with a bill and they accept it, I think that everybody will be very happy to do it, because what is he supposed to do? Wait till next year to keep on building his house? I don't know. So what I think what I'm going to be asking is, the question is, who wants to approve this time, but he need to retain whatever money that he would, what Sean was saying, that if it's $3,000, he need to provide $3,000 for 3 years to make sure that if there's any damage, that it's going to be repaired. Okay, so that's the question. So who would approve that? So got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's approved. Okay. So that will, no, I got something else. Oh, well, it's 9:27. So I think that's as far that, so we need a resolution. We got 3 minutes. Is there something we can talk about in 3 minutes?
First of all, our curfew is 9:30, so I think we need to have a resolution
That's
But
what
the
I'm saying.
mover
We
is-
got 3 minutes though.
Yeah,
Okay. So can somebody, can we have somebody to propose a motion to extend our meeting? Conseiller Christopher, second by Conseiller Rowley. So who's in favor to extend the curfew? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's defeated. So we got 3 minutes. Do we have time to do something in 3 minutes?
I can start. Or maybe leave it until for the
Well,
next.
let's-
agenda.
you know what, if we have 3 minutes, start the discussion with Dover Court land acquisition, Madam Chair, and see where it's gonna lead.
Well, yeah, it shouldn't be too long. Let's go, Sean, then.
Okay, so if council recalls, we've had a couple of petitions for Dover Court, and including Toronto Street for the current, the conditions on Dover Court being a through street from Ashbury Road to Toronto Street. We did then close the north end or the south end. Ultimately, we would close the north end. We have a current property owner at the north on the northeast end that has a vacant property, which could be used as either a turnaround or a street for the Nico Street subdivision. So there's basically, when I was talking with the developers, there's kind of a three-way win situation where the road could potentially be closed at the north end and reopened at Cadbury Road. This not only, so the current landowner doesn't have much benefit with this. So he's looking obviously to either get another property to build a fourplex on. He doesn't care that it's there or anywhere else, but he doesn't really benefit. The municipality would, obviously the petitioners would be happy with council's decision. The third party, the developers, they do have interest, but they don't have money. So at the onset, I negotiated or kind of a preliminary negotiation, if you will, that potentially the new developers could swap the property with the current property owner, and we had to put an estimated value. So I estimated high. It's COVID times and real estate is high. So I estimated the property value at $75,000 as a service lot, which is, I agree, is pretty high. My intention was that the current property owner, the developers would do a property swap. So, and at $75,000 with a three-way split, the cost of the municipality would have been $25,000 to purchase that one lot, but this would have satisfied the petitioners, and it benefits the current property owner as well, because his little subdivision becomes more lucrative as a cul-de-sac development. It also benefits the developers, because now they're no longer servicing 4 properties off of the highway. They're servicing them off of this new proposed street, or this new potential street from the property that.
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, point of order, we're past 9:30.
Yeah, I know we said we started, we agreed to start the discussion, so we're stopping it right now. Are you almost finished, Sean? So what do you need? What do you need right now to just keep on negotiating, and you gotta be bringing it back?
Yes, I would like direction from council on whether to keep negotiating. But I'll maybe pass it to Jay to see what direction.
Okay,
It could be added, in terms of whether you approve the solution anyway, and then at what cost. And so there's negotiations and all of that, but I think that you probably need to adjourn the meeting under procedure.
That's right.
Okay.
So thank you, Sean, and looking forward to future dialogue. So we need a mover and a seconder to be able to adjourn. Conseil Leo. Conseil Denis.
It's moved by Councillor Millet and seconded by Councillor Denise Senecal. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2021-45 being a bylaw of the West Nipissing Municipality to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the first day of June 2021 shall come into force and take effect on the day it is passed.
Any objections? None. Carried.
And it is moved by Councillor Leo Millet and seconded by Councillor Denise Senecal. Be it resolved that council meeting of June 1st, 2021 be adjourned.
Any objections? None. Carried. Adopté. Good evening. Bonsoir.